And for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good evening. We'll move on to approval of the minutes of the meeting held May 23rd. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. And for those of you who are not in attendance or watching our work session, we have two board members absent this evening, Board Member Ryder and Board Member Baker. We'll move on to persons wishing to address the school board. Both of these items are on non-agenda items, and you will each get 5 minutes. We set aside a portion of each meeting to hear from the public on items of general interest or concern. Board Member Parker will time you each and let you know when you have 1 minute left, 30 seconds, and then time's up after 5 minutes. When you are called to the podium, please identify yourself and your address and the organization you represent if you are representing someone for the meeting. If you have any visual aids or handouts, please see a member of our communications team, Deanne. Prior to the meeting, she will help you distribute the information and approve any item to be shown for public viewing. We do not take comments during this time on any personnel matters, and all meeting attendees are expected to treat others with respect and civility. We will not respond to individual comments, and staff may be requested to follow up as needed following the meeting. And thank you for coming tonight. And first, we'll welcome former Mayor Rick Novy to the stand, please. Thank you.
Good evening, Madam Chair. I know a couple of you. Many of you I don't, just for identification purposes. Yeah, my name is Rick Novy. I live in Sioux Falls. I've been here since 1971. I was mayor of this city from 1974 to 1984, commonly called the golden years. That got a bigger laugh at the county, and there were fewer people in the room. What happened? I'm here in a serious matter, however. If you're like me, you're probably sad, frustrated, and maybe angry. You folks, all of you in this room that work for the district, are on the front line. When the bullets start and stop flying, you and your people will be the ones responding and then cleaning up the carnage. An attack on a school, the mall, or superstore you visit, your church, an outdoor concert, a senior center, your business, a hospital, a courthouse, even this meeting space is no longer unthinkable. Panic, screaming, tears, deaths, wounded, blood everywhere, total chaos. A June 3rd article in USA Today by Ryan Miller does a good job describing the crisis. I hope you'll read it. A book called The Violence Project goes into depth about the individual murderers. It puts forth ideas on how to fix this crisis. The authors were on Face the Nation Sunday. I suggest you access it. In Washington, the House has passed a fairly decent bill. Sunday, it was announced a bipartisan group of senators have agreed to a framework to deal with mass murders. It is not much, in my opinion. It doesn't raise the age of purchase. And by the way, since I put this together this afternoon, it was announced that 2 of the people who were arrested in Idaho that were allegedly going to storm a pride parade, white supremacists, residents of Sioux Falls, South Dakota. Also, an incident in Alabama today, no gunfire, but somebody tried to break into a school. It had about 38 students in it. Fortunately, the students were not at all harmed. So it's real, it's happening now. Going to age 21 to purchase in the House bill is progress. However, to me, it's not good enough. Follow the science. The human brain is not fully developed until age 25. Impulse control is the part that is not fully developed. Think about that. Ask your friendly local psychologist or psychiatrist, or Google brain development. As of this writing, there is not a written Senate bill. Based on past experience, they will not be acting on saving lives soon. I have little confidence the Senate members, most of whom are beholden to the NRA, will act favorably on anything comprehensive. Like you, I've been spending time thinking about what I can do to make a difference, and that's why I'm here today. We are not helpless. We do not have to accept the current situation. We have the power to speak up and act responsibly to make change. I realize the decisions on gun laws happen further up the political food chain from you folks, but since all politics is local, we should start here. I'm not anti-gun. I just want to save lives. I put together a plan. There are 12 parts to it, plus some commentaries. I'll leave it with Bev Chase at the end of this discussion. I'm going to leave each of you a copy. I'm not expecting you to do anything today except promise me you will read it. And at a future public meeting, soon I hope, discuss the parts you support and obviously add your own ideas. Further, I hope you will adopt a resolution outlining the specific points you support and then send them to the legislature, the governor, and yes, even our congressional representatives, asking them to act on your and therefore our behalf to protect our lives and increase gun safety. Speaking up and acting responsibly, by the way, may also have a positive impact on teen suicide. Gun violence has gone up here. We are not immune. We've been lucky so far. It's not a matter of if a mass murder will be attempted here, it's when. If comprehensive action doesn't happen soon, the phrase life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness enshrined in the Declaration of Independence will become a lie. As local elected officials in the largest county, city, and school district in our state, you are our leaders. I'm hoping you will rise to that occasion and take action. Godspeed, and thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, Chad Bishop, please.
Hello, my name is Chad Bishop. I live at 7405 South Valencia Drive here in Sioux Falls. I'm representing myself. Given the content of the previous speaker, I'd like to bring up one topic in addition to what I published here. We served for 11 years at All City Elementary, 17 commitment years for those of you who know what that means. And I had approached the principal there at the time, volunteered as a sentinel, volunteered to go through, since I was in the school district and in the building every week, volunteered to go through the training and peer, volunteered to do whatever was necessary to help address this issue, and this district shut it down. The principal there said, Chad, I would absolutely trust you in my school. I will support you in this. For my written statement, in multiple previous public input statements to this body, requests have been made to have this board, through its membership in the Associated School Boards of South Dakota, disassociate itself from the National School Board Association by exercising its vote and, if necessary, the withholding of its dues, especially if they are paid with taxpayer funds. These requests have been made specifically in the response to the NSBA's letter to the President of the United States on September 29th of last year, where it was suggested that the parents be pursued by the federal executive in the same manner as domestic terrorists. On May 23rd of the same date as my last statement to this body on this subject, the Texas Association of School Boards announced its end of its membership in the NSBA. The press release said the following: TASBA has been actively monitored as NSBA efforts to rebuild trust following the release of the September 29th letter to the Biden administration. On Monday, May 23rd, the TASB Board of Directors met to discuss the report, which discloses new details about the development of the NSBA September 29th letter, and have decided to leave the national group. There's a few more paragraphs there which might interest you. It is my request that this body move through its membership in the Associated School Boards of South Dakota and withholding any related dues to disassociate from the NSBA. My second topic, or third, I guess. As you know, I expressed concern last September when Ibram X. Kendi's anti-racist baby was being read to elementary school-age children in Sioux Falls public schools. I was told that critical race theory is not taught in the SFSD. However, I'm starting to wonder if it is being taught to teachers and then put into practice. Last summer, we took notice when the NEA adopted as modified new business item 39 last summer. I'll just read items A and B here. Share and publicize through existing channels information already available on critical race theory, what it is not, Have a team of staffers and members who want to learn more to fight back against anti-CRT rhetoric and share information with other NEA members as well as their community members. B, provide an already created in-depth study that critiques empire, white supremacy, anti-blackness, anti-indigeneity, racism, patriarchy, cis-heteropatriarchy, capitalism, ableism, anthropocentrism, and other forms of power and oppression at the intersections of our society, and that we oppose attempts to ban critical race theory and or the 1619 Project. Oh boy. So I have questions about continuing education credits specifically, are how they're approved for teachers in the Sioux Falls School District. Specifically, we have taken notice of the credits being offered at the SDEA's Summer Academy, and we are wondering if they will comply with the governor's executive order. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Chad. Moving on to approval of the agenda. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. The agenda is approved. On to the good news report.
Good evening. I am here to just give you a preview to the next two things that will be happening at tonight's meeting. We will have Erica Palladino-Hazlett from Whittier Middle School sharing about the school spotlight coming up as our second part of the Good News Report. But first, we are excited to make an announcement here tonight. And I will have Dr. Stabum, you want to come to the podium here, or would you like there? And we have some friends among us that we also would like to invite toward the front of the room. So we have Jared Johnson, CEO and president of Pepper Entertainment, and Annalisa McKelvey is in the marketing department at Pepper Entertainment, as well as Colin Chose. Did I get that right? Awesome. Colin Chose is a solution sales leader at A&B Business Solutions, and they have been great partners with us, and we're excited to make an announcement here. So I will turn it over to Dr. Stabum for that.
And I would also add that Allison Struck is here from our Sioux Falls Education Foundation. And really why we want to announce this tonight is this is just a great example in our community of how so many people are willing to come together for the benefit of our students and to provide a new opportunity. So, I suppose about a year ago, I had talked with Dr. Perkins, who oversees our fine arts classes, and said, I'd love to see guitar started in our high schools. I was at another meeting with Colin and Dennis Anderson with A&B Business, who knew someone from Pepper Entertainment. So would you please stand so that we can recognize you, and come on up. Why don't you both come on up as well? And so we started to talk about the possibilities, and Pepper Entertainment was interested in supporting the students of Sioux Falls as a former Lincoln graduate.
That's correct.
And we started to think about what's possible. At the same time, Dr. Perkins sent out a survey with our students. They were interested in an opportunity. There's band, there's choir, there's orchestra, but some of our students would like a music opportunity that maybe aren't part of those things, or are interested in another instrument, one that is a very useful instrument. So then I was at a basketball game and heard the pep band next to me at Lincoln High, and there was this incredible guitar player named Jack Simpson who provided a little music coming in. I think the jazz feel was kind of a nice way to start a board meeting. Maybe we need to do that every board meeting. And about that same time, we also had a lovely donation to our district that Jack is holding, which is a signed guitar from John Bon Jovi. So all things came together with a bunch of people who want to support our students, and I believe now we have, how many students signed up? 145 kids signed up for a guitar for the first time ever next fall. And so we thought tonight would be a great opportunity to celebrate this new partnership. Do you want to say just a few words about what you're planning to do from Pepper?
Of course. Thank you. It's great to be here and to get this kind of launched tonight. And as far as Pepper goes, we've been looking for a charitable component that we would actually bring in-house, and we just hadn't quite found the the right partnership. And obviously with 2020, we got a little distracted with, getting back to live music. So when my business partner, Dennis Anderson, had brought this to me and said, hey, can you help? What's your thoughts on this? I immediately knew that this would probably be a great partnership to launch. What we're now in the process of doing is launching a new national foundation. So our pledge to the Amped Up guitar program, in addition to just supporting it, obviously, Pepper is going to donate $1 for every ticket sold, starting immediately for all Sioux Falls concerts through 2023. We're going to help hopefully support the sustainability of it, get it launched. My guess is that we'll probably have this go on for quite a while past 2023, but for the immediate launch of it, that is what we have pledged to do. Additionally, we're going to also try to get some of our national touring shows that are in the market coordinated to either do school visits, or we'll create some cool, on-site type things that they can come out and maybe be a promoter for a day, or, do all kinds of different stuff to try to encourage them to use music as a positive outlet and chase their dreams of playing guitar. So we're very humbled by the partnership, and we're very excited to help get this off the ground. You bet.
So many careers at launch, and from being a superstar who is generous to his school district to video, setting up a stage, actually playing the instruments, promoting graphics, so many things that we hope to launch, and just more opportunities for our students right here in Sioux Falls. Now, there's been one little change in this partnership, and Jack was going to be tutoring kids in guitar next year, but lo and behold, help me get this right, Jack, I believe he is one of 10 students in the world to be invited to attend Interlochen next year. If you know about that, that is a big deal. And so Jack is going to spend his year at that school pursuing his dream, but he is able to do that because Jack has learned how to play the guitar along the way. And so we thought it would be fun to feature him just for a few minutes tonight to give us a taste of what our students are capable of and what we may be able to launch for many, many other students. So with that, Jack, take it away. Nicely done. Shortest concert, maybe the best we've heard at a board meeting. Jack can also be listened to locally. Jack, what group is it that you perform with?
I perform solo gigs probably once or twice a month. I headline a few of my own jazz quartets in our wine bar in Los Angeles. Every once in a while, we do a vampire quartet, we do the speakers combo. You can find it at our wine bar. So,
Anywhere there's jazz happening, Jack may be there. Thank you for being with us. Thanks to all the partners for helping this come together, and to our foundation who will help us with the funds. So we appreciate everybody's partnership. Thanks for coming tonight.
I don't know how Eric's feeling about following up after that. It's a pretty difficult follow-up to do, but we invite Erica Palladino-Hazlett from Whittier Middle School to the podium to share a little bit about her school and what makes it special at Whittier Middle School.
Yeah, that's kind of a hard act to follow, Jack. That's super cool. Nice job. Well, I'm Erica Palladino. I'm the principal at Whittier Middle School, and this is going to start my 4th year that I have been there. I don't have a PowerPoint for you today, but I have a lot of fun facts, and I think that's kind of important to know. These things are important to know about Whittier. So Whittier actually will have its 100th year anniversary this year for their building, and I want you to know that over 100 years ago, students were bused by covered wagon to Whittier. Todd? I thought you might like that. Like, they're still busing right today and 100 years ago. Other really important things to know about our building is it houses about 750 students. That's new this year. In the past, Whittier's had about 1,000, but with the opening of Ben Rifle, we decreased, and we're anywhere between 200 and 250 students. With that being said, we're about 72% diverse, about 73% economically disadvantaged, and about 30% of our students speak English as a second language. I give you that information because some of the facts that I'll share with you are specific to some of the opportunities that we get to provide our students that are unique to Whittier. And Whittier gets a lot of press lately, good press. We do a lot of things at Whittier that are really good for kids, but the things I'm going to outline are things that maybe you wouldn't have heard about before that we do in our building. So last year we started what we call Camp Wolverine, and we took about 20 to 30 of our students who weren't great attenders, and we felt like maybe just didn't have connections into our building. And we started a program that is run by our teachers, and we take them all over the community. We introduce them to community providers. We take them to college campuses. We take them and give them experiences they may not have had before, because when you think about our economically disadvantaged percentage, they might not go out to eat very often. So we'll take them out to eat. They learn how to order. We take them to the sculpture walk. We do all sorts of things with them to connect them to our community and to our teachers in that building. And one of the important stats that we showed after last year was that in an exit survey from our students, they all wanted to continue to meet with that same group of students throughout the year. We started a soccer club last year. This year it's not as big a deal because it's actually going to be a sport in middle school, but at one point we had about 150 students involved in that soccer club. And then we started last year athletic outreach, and this is for our students. Not all of our students have the opportunity to play at the Pentagon or to play for the Cyclones, but they do have the opportunity to be able to walk to a school that's near them. And we started that program with outreaching into the elementary schools, and we thought that was a really good idea, but it turned out to not be a great idea. They all wanted to come to Whittier. And so this year we've averaged about 20 to 30 students in that program, and what we do is we provide coaches for our students, and then during the summer they come twice a week and they can participate in whatever sport they want, but in a structured environment. So they might do some drills, they might do some controlled scrimmages. Last year we had 2 kids on the average, and I said we just kind of have to hang in there until it starts to build itself, and this year, like I've said, we've averaged about 20 to 30 students. I think the other important thing to know about Whittier is probably the Whittier way. And many of you have heard about this, but this is the language that we use at Whittier. And if you talk to students after they've graduated from high school, you talk to the principals at Washington, they will talk to you about the culture of the Whittier way. And I could go over all 5 of those aspects with you, but I won't. What I would do is I would invite you to come to Whittier and hear that language in action, because you will hear it from students in the hallway. You'll hear students telling teachers to make sure that they represent the Whittier way, students telling students, and teachers telling students. Whittier has been, like I said, around for a very long time, but the culture that is there is still represented very well today. Do you guys have any questions for me?
No, but thank you, and you did great. I know you're worried about going after Jack, but thank you to everybody at Whittier for all you do, and reaching out to those students, especially who have different needs maybe than some of our other buildings, and making sure that they have what they need to be successful students. We greatly appreciate that, Erica and team. Thank you. We'll move on now to our conflicts of interest. No new conflicts were presented, so we'll move on to the consent agenda, items 9A through F, it looks like. No, A, I'm sorry, that was a consent. That's A through E. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. On to item F, which is the claims to Sanford Healthcare, items 1 and 2. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Those are approved. On to the reports of the superintendent. Axtell Middle School.
I also am glad that I did not have to follow Jack. I guess she didn't have that same ability, but I'm glad I did. This evening, we bring forward to you the report of the Axtell Park Middle School and High School placement programs. And this is a board update. And the purpose of this report is to go through and update the board on the work that has been completed to evaluate and then improve upon the services that we provide over at the Axtell Park placement programs. As we look at the district priorities, this hits each one of the 5 areas or priorities that we have listed for our district priorities. In the explanation of this, we went through with this, and there's been multiple steps that have been taken to improve the services that we have for our students in our placement programs. And a few years back, if you recall, we went through the same process with our Joe Foss programming and provided improved services there for those students who were earning an education at that location. Then we went through and revised many of the things that we had provided as far as the placement programming at our elementary program, which is the Horace Mann Center. And now in spring of 2020, we started that same type of a process with the Axtell Park programming and went through and established our committees to do that. We broke it down into a few different phases. So the first phase of this was really, we started with 2 committees, 17 high school individuals representing the high schools, and then middle school committee as well of 17 individual members. And the whole process of this was just to go through and identify those components that we would truly need to benefit our students and those students that would be attending those programs. We did part of that in visiting similar programs. We took a large group of individuals down to Lincoln Public Schools and visited a program they had there. And then there's some individuals that went to other additional programs, but really did some review of some other programs. And really, when we were done with that whole process with the 2 committees, we came up with 5 areas that were of significance that we had identified and wanted to go through and make changes to. One of those was the mental health and counseling supports, and that's something that we've obviously heard a lot about over the last several years, and that's one of the key things that rose to the top and absolutely to the very top of the programming needs at the Axtell Park placement programs. A structured day was another piece of that we looked at, additional elective options, and I'll talk about each one of these a little bit more coming up. And then supports for the classroom itself and the teachers, and then a better defined referral and reintegration process for those students. And so this information really allowed us to be able to set that up to how we were going to go through to give our staff and our students those resources to be able to meet their needs. The second phase of this, we really then started to implement. We identified the needs and we started to go through and look for those partnerships or how we were going to resolve those needs. So the first part, we reached out to Avera Behavioral Health, and they've been outstanding partners with the Sioux Falls School District. And once again, they stepped up and provided services, and they're providing interns and a supervisor that work over at the Axtell Park program and provide some of those mental health 2 mental health therapists that are doing internships, and then a supervisor, and they're there 3 partial days a week, and they provide student services to our students in mental health therapy. We also added a school psychologist, and we've seen a change in a lot of our school psychologists. You saw through the budgetary process that we're trying to hire some of those to go through and work more directly with our students and helping them with mental health, with some of those planning, how do we gain resources. We also added a school social worker. It'd be a little different social worker job description. They're going to go in and actually work with the students on a daily basis with social skills and help in that avenue. And then the school counselor, many of the duties of the school counselor will be slightly refined so that they're working more directly with students in those classrooms and the counseling services. So that was the area that we went forward to address that mental health component. The second part of that was the implementation of this. We'll see part of those changes, the predominance of them in the 22-23 school year. As you realize, with that proposed budget, many of those items were included in that and will be ratified later this summer. Some of those programming components started a little bit earlier this year, especially the Avera component. They wanted to get into the school, be able to start to see what was working and what may not work so they'd be better prepared for the fall. The third part of that, we looked at some of those additional supports and processes. And these changes were addressed through the committee work and the administration meetings and then teacher feedback as we went through that whole committee meetings. The reintegration process, we saw this be a significant factor with our Horace Mann program. How do we go through and help those students to improve in certain areas so they can reintegrate back into the traditional school and school setting? And so we went through to address part of that, the referral process to the school, and that's still in process. Many of these will be looked at and reviewed throughout this next school year. Additional classes being offered because we wanted to make sure there's going to be some programming changes as you see the additional programming and class changes. Part of that goes with the electives that they may have, and part of that will go with the programming so the students start to become familiar with goal setting and the process of how do they achieve some of those goals, how do they meet together in group assemblies, and just some of those general processes that they will utilize over at the Axtell Park programming. We combined several of the classes. This really helped us in utilizing or better utilizing our teacher FTE and especially some of the certifications of our teachers so that a math teacher wasn't just involved in one program. We could utilize them across several programs and not have to hire as many in specialized areas. That allowed us to also help with some of those additional programming classes offered. It helped the teachers also to be able to specialize within one subject area and not have to move so many different programs. Additional busing supports were also added in there. We do provide busing for our middle school students and the majority of our high school students, but not all of the high school students, especially the regular education 9th and 10th graders. Another part of that was the professional development training for all staff, and we truly tried with the all, and we have the representation here of the administration that worked over at the Axtell Park building or works over at the Axtell Park building with Brianna Copley and Tyler Engelson and Mitch Schaefer. And so really they are going through this part of it right now with the training for all staff, and we include in that with the EAs and the support, behavior support staff, our clerical staff, but all staff that are located over there at the Axtell Park building with those programs to be involved in that training. We increased the support staff with the behavior facilitators and EA time, especially on that EA time to be able to ride the buses to make sure there's safety and security on those buses at all times. And then, as I said earlier, the mental health supports. We increased the number of electives. The area that we heard the most on in that was art, and we added through that budgetary process in the proposed budget a 0.5 FTE for art classes to be able to maintain that interest in the area of art, and then increased safety measures. We also included in, we had moved a couple years ago, the GED programming over to the Axtell Park site, so we could utilize that GED program because that will meet the needs of some of the students that are involved there. So life circumstances that maybe hindered them in some way, they can go through and complete that GED, or they can better utilize the offerings of the Joe Foss program. And then additional changes will be made as we go through and look at these, how these supports are being implemented and what success they're having. The fourth phase of that is truly that staff training and program alignment. We did go through in December 16th and informed all staff. We had several of the Axtell Park staff on the committees with the middle school and high school, but we went through with all staff and had all staff meeting to inform them of the changes and their participation that'll start to become a reality as they go through the training this year and then through the summer and next year. The leadership team over there that I'd introduced really went through then and set up those committees and started to conduct some of that our training there at Axtell Park. In March of 2022, we contracted also with a group to come through and do a review of our program to give us some additional input. They are also working through a virtual training that they completed in April 21st with our Axtell Park staff to bring them up to date. And then are going to be the phases that we have during the summer now. So the administration will go through training in June 14th and 15th, and then we'll have the entire staff with a 2-day training August 9th and 10th for that professional development. A big part of that is really to have all staff on the same page so we have that consistency throughout the entire program. And then in August, those individuals we had come back in to do the review, they will send individuals through that first week of school just to make sure that it's appropriately implemented and be able to help if there's any staff questions and to be able to provide that extra support. Then they'll have 2 different coaching sessions where they'll come throughout the school year and just help our staff to make sure that we implement that with fidelity. So the committee participation in that, the Axtell Park Placement Programs Review Committee was comprised of 17 high school and 17 middle school members, and we represented administration, central administration, contract employees, counselors, teachers, and success coordinators within those committees. In the summary, the committees reviewed the programming at the current Axtell Park Placement Programs and added additional supports in the areas of student mental health and well-being, programming, busing services, safety protocols, educational opportunities, and structure. The changes will be implemented during the 22-23 school year and will be reviewed during the year to assess the effectiveness of each of the changes and to determine additional changes are needed. The changes are intended to meet the needs of our district priorities. In closing, our administrative recommendation is to acknowledge the report on the work completed by the committees that reviewed the Axtell Park high school and middle school placement programs and resulting programmatic improvements. I stand by for questions.
I just want to acknowledge, I attended the Leaders of Tomorrow graduation. Dr. Seaman and Dr. Knoll was there as well. And I was reminded by you, Dr. Knoll, that was it 2 years ago when we decided to change course and leave contract we had originally for the Joe Foss programs and go this route. And I think we're seeing the fruits of that change. And obviously we still need to improve in some areas, but I like that we're being diligent and reworking and looking at things what are needed for success for our students at these schools and making sure that we give them the supports they need so they may be successful.
And so much of that is based on the needs of the students, being able to help them to be connected. And I think we saw that with that leadership training that those students went through.
I like the concept you're trying to feed them back to their home schools. That can be done, that's super.
We saw some great value in that with our elementary students and getting them back in. Otherwise, they stay in some of those programs throughout their entire K-12 career, and we want to make sure that they have that great opportunity of being in their home attendance centers.
Seeing no other questions or comments, do I have a motion to acknowledge the Axtell Park Middle School and High School programs update?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. That is acknowledged. Anything else for the good of the board? Seeing none, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor of adjournment signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. We are adjourned. Thank you.